connection, and opportunity. All in one place. Come join the community. So text it now, don't wait in line. Back for life. 949-292-905. That's 949-292-905.
They discovered it, they read it, and they applied it. It's the golden thread that connects the titans of the self-development industry, the source that spawned millions of millionaires, the original blueprint to success.
Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill.
Think and Grow Rich.
Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich. It's a classic. A classic.
And I love Think and Grow Rich. I love it. It's right here. I mean, it's one of my favorite books of all time.
Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill.
This material is what changed my life. This is the material I study every day. From being an immigrant woman, coming from poverty, and really coming to America and literally achieving the American dream. I can't even tell you how grateful I am for this man, for what he did for me and my family.
Whatever the mind can conceive and believe, the mind can achieve.
People don't realize is that when we let our ego get in our way, ego is the loss, the fear of loss. So need to be right, the need to be offended, the need to be hurt, fearful. When that trajectory changes, what happens is you continually go the wrong way. So my job as a coach is to say, let's get into the enjoyment of the direct pursuit of my potential. Right? And so when the light went on, it was not about the potential of making money and being an entrepreneur, which is one of my specialties. And I said to him, look, this is an opportunity now to show how great you really are. We can't let the outside voices, right, determine our success. The happiness that we have comes within. Why are you going to give that control to somebody else?
Thoughts become things. And I always wonder, why did no one teach us this? Why did we not learn this in school? Why did we not learn this from our families? If you make your study a priority, your life will change.
And I came up with 4 really valuable things that I took stock in. And the first one was gratitude. Simple gratitude. Although I grew up with nothing, I was always grateful. Throughout the whole process of consistently, persistently pursuing my potential, I was grateful. It made my past better, my present brighter, and my future even brighter than that. In fact, I tell people all the time, if you want to change your life, change your employee's life, your family life, it's very simple. 2 words, say thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Napoleon Hill Institute training, and blessed to be here. I will briefly go over our crazy 200 city schedule for the next 10 days to invite everyone to elevate their awareness of where we're going to be, because we do meetups, holding courts, interviews, speeches, masterminds, and of course, VIP dinners for charity, which is my favorite part of what we do in all of these cities with the meetups. Gigi, why don't you go ahead? We'll be in Madison, Wisconsin. First meetups, holding court, VIP dinners. Then we're down to Thomas with Sharon Lecter, Bill Walsh at the Atlantis. Then we'll be in Atlanta with Jesse Itzler, and many, many more, plus the car wash. Then we'll be in Chicago. Come and join us, keynoting the restaurant show, interview, court, VIP dinner, etc. Then back to Las Vegas with my co-host, Blaine Bartlett, season 10 of Office Hours in the Lobby of the Win, and the biggest names, billionaires, millionaires, entrepreneurs, celebrities, athletes, and entertainers. On season 10, we've had everyone from Gary Vee to John Hennessy. Then to the Aspire Business Tour, anyone in my community, I will host you at Aspire and give you a VIP ticket. Come and see me and have a VIP dinner, holding court meetups, interviews in a mastermind there in Austin, Texas. And then Tim Story and I will complete the 10-day trip in Newport Beach. So 8 cities in 10 days. Come and see us. Newport Beach Mastermind, VIP dinner, holding court meetups, interviews, etc. So everybody, if you want to stay informed, I'm sure you heard the jingle. Is that right, Gigi? Give me a thumbs up. The jingle played good. The area code's 949. This is a text number, a text community to stay informed and get invited to over 200 cities. 949 area code. The next 3 numbers are 298. The last 4 numbers are 2905. Or simply email me, Dave at dmeltzer.com. We're going to bring on my co-host, Blaine Bartlett. Blessed to have him, as always, here to help us with our training today. Blaine, welcome, my friend.
It's a pleasure to be here, as always. Boy, you talk about a pressure-filled schedule, which is perfect for today's lesson.
Yeah, because it's only full of pressure if you understand or you think that location creates pressure. For me, it doesn't. And location is irrelevant in my life. So as long as I'm surrounding myself with the right people, the right ideas, location does not matter, especially with technology. It was not true when you or I were kids, but it's certainly true today. There's almost no matter where you are, you can get exactly. You can pursue your potential no matter where you are. It was not true before, which we'll get into. We have an early start here, so let's going with the turning pressure into progress training. If anybody would like the exercises or guides from today, email me. David means beloved. At D is my first initial. Meltzer means servant. Let me be your beloved servant, Dave at dmeltzer.com. We're going to get right into it. And then we're blessed to have Blaine with the Q&A for 30 minutes after training. So ask him anything. Pressure into progress. We all experience pressure, whether it's in business, relationships, competition, or personal growth. The difference is not who feels it, but how we interpret it, how we respond and react to it. When we see pressure as something to avoid, it actually accelerates, aggregates, and compounds the fear. It can actually create fear. It certainly will cause hesitation, procrastination, a feeling of and also resistance. But when we truly understand it, when pressure becomes a catalyst for growth, for harmony, focus, intention, performance, we can utilize pressure into progress. We've all been in moments where expectations are so high and the stakes feel really big. A huge opportunity, an important conversation, or maybe you feel it's a defining decision. In each and every one of these moments, pressure can either cause us to shrink back, accelerate, or step forward with a definiteness of purpose, with intention to do, say, think, feel, and believe aligned with our divine direction. Pressure doesn't define us. Our response to it does. Our reaction to it does. When we learn to reframe pressure and what causes pressure, and for the sake of what are we putting pressure on ourselves, we transform it, we expand it from something that interferes with us to where we're going to be better, something that holds us back, creates resistance, into something that moves us forward and creates the momentum with the infinite amount of energy, intuition, and intelligence, and inspiration that causes us to progress. And like I said, if anybody would like this training or the replay of this training or the replay of the Q&A with Blaine, Bartlett.com, email him, BlaineBartlett.com, go to his website, or me, David at dmeltzer.com. The first lesson, Blaine, is how do we reframe pressure? So many people have been conditioned to think of pressure as something that causes hesitation and fear and anxiety. But we can reframe pressure from that great threat to actually opportunity, options, and touches of favor. And so starting there, we perceive pressure as a threat and it creates anxiety, hesitation, and fear. But when we reframe it as an opportunity, option, or touches of favor, it can actually fuel us, create harmony, focus, intention, and increase our performance. How is that possible that a simple reframing of something like pressure can create such a divergent result?
People will move because of usually two circumstances. One is I've got to get away, there's pressure. I've got to get away from where I'm at because it's too intense or whatever, label I want to put on it. The other one is where I'd like to go is so attractive I can't not move in that direction. So there's pressure to kind of move that direction. So there's a push and a pull that kind of come into play here. The reframing process actually transforms what is a toxic push into a generative pull. And that's what we want to be able to actually leverage here. And it all happens up here. It's all about mindset. Yeah. And then, yeah. What's the opportunity out there?
Yeah. And I think you just hit on something really important is in the ID reframing. It's where in a meaning that we give it and what we're seeking from it. You talk all the time for the sake of what? Well, it applies to pressure. How am I going to use this pressure? Am I going to use it to interfere with where I want to be or better? Or am I going to use this pressure to create a diamond out of my life or out of this opportunity, or use it to propel me as fuel? Those simple things of reframing all the time, it's like gratitude. This simple process of reframing, which helps in all sorts of circumstances. But when it comes time to step into a high stakes meeting or that we feel overwhelmed, causing us to tighten up instead of performing our best, whether it's in athletics, as I've seen, or in the boardroom, as you have seen for so many years. It's easy to say, just reframe. It's like telling someone that's depressed or suicidal, just look at the glass half full, you'll be fine. This is a simple thing to do. Work. We both know it works. But you've been coaching and mentoring and teaching people for so many years. You and I both know simple to do are simple not to do, where everybody would do them. And we'd be in a lot better place, especially as parents. What do you advise people in the reframing process, this simple thing? Or are there some things that we can think about to reframe, or a practice that we can utilize in order to facilitate or to make easy this idea that pressure is not the end of me, that it's the indicator that we're in the moment that matters?
Yeah. One of the, I think, most effective moves that I can make, and this is whether I'm coaching somebody or if I'm actually that person myself, is to notice that oftentimes I will stop moving because the pressure seems so overwhelming. There's just, it seems too big. So what I want to be able to do is chunk it down. What's one step that I can do right now? And it doesn't have to be grandiose in any way, shape, or form. It could simply be jot a note to myself that is that is part of that idea that I want to have generated here. Write a note to myself and then do something about that note. Get on the phone, make that one phone call. Bite size it, make it human size, because pressure oftentimes feels bigger than me. So I want to have it be something that I can actually get my arms around.
Yeah, I think also in break down to bite-sized moments, which in the Tao, Lao Tzu, is probably the most well-known verse of how to get to 1,000 miles, one step at a time. It's interesting because we'll look at pressure as all this pressure because we're attached to an outcome. Oh, if I hit a home run here, I'm going to be the MVP of the World Series, whatever it may be. And if we can adjust that and just look to see what a great opportunity to learn. And I feel also it's healthy to say, and test myself of what my best is today. I like
That
to
moves us into
see
one of
where
our
I'm
other
at.
lessons today. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to see where I'm at today. But we'll move to, if anybody would like to learn how to reframe pressure, email me, david@dmeltzer.com. David@dmeltzer.com, along with the folks in this training. The second lesson is a lesson that's applicable to a lot of our trainings, which is present, being able to win in the moment in front of many. And I mentioned earlier to you, location doesn't matter anymore. Size of audience should not matter, but it does. You talked about pressure pulling us into the future. Performance happens though in the present,
Yes.
and we lose that presence. We lose the execution, regardless of who's watching. And so once again, attachment to judgments and outcomes and results of the next action can cause us interference as well. Where, how do we stay present in the performance under pressure, regardless, or how do you handle the difference between you spoke in front of two people like me, but you've also spoke in front of tens of thousands of people in stadiums and arenas, and that, you know, for a seasoned vet like you, it seems to me that you perform the exact same, maybe even better when you're in front of 30 or 40,000 people instead of 3 or 4.
I'll come back to that first step. I mean, you and I both have written a number of books. We collaborated on compassionate capitalism together, and the notion of writer's block, you know, it's kind of like, oh, this book, yeah. Okay, no, just sit down and write the first sentence. Once I can get things started, and this is true when I'm on stage, I can think about the whole audience and what are they going to think. When I start to think about what is going to happen here, what are they going to think of me? It becomes all about me. I want to change that narrative. Yeah, it's not about me. I'm here to be a servant. Yeah, and what's the first thing I can do in service of being a servant? And if I can lock the start, everything else flows. Just get up there and do the best entrance that I can. And it's not about me. It's about I want to get rolling. I want to get rolling. So how do I walk out? And that's all it has to be. How do I walk out? Once I walk out and I know how I want to walk out, then it flows. It just moves.
Yeah, I think 0 to 1 when it comes to pressure is much more difficult than 1 to 100. And believe it or not, I think AI can assist us, in that 0 to 1 with things like writer's block, to get us moving. Nothing happens, as you have elegantly taught me through Einstein and others. Nothing happens until it moves. And so the idea of getting moving is so important, and staying present. The last thing before we get to lesson 3 is, the idea of staying at ease or grounded, as they say. I remember being backstage with my kids at one of the groups with Dan Fleischman, with the man in the arena, full Utah arena. And the kids were like, "Dad, how are you nervous?" And I said, "Actually, I'd love for you to come on stage with me when I start and just clap for me. Would you be nervous to do that?" And all, the girls were like, "No, that'd be awesome." "Well, aren't you nervous? You're coming on stage with 13,000 people, Utah arena." "Well, no, I'm just clapping." Well, part of it is practice. And, when I speak, I clap. I won't step onto a stage with the content that I want to convey or ideas that people are listening for if I'm not prepared, if I haven't practiced to the point of clapping. So as long as I'm comfortable with the subject topic or expertise people are looking for or listening for to the level of clapping of comfort, then I'm not going to do it. So breathing and grounding techniques have been essential. If you like the lessons on how to stay present in winning in front of others, no matter how many, not only doesn't location matter, the audience does not matter as well when we create progress instead of out of pressure. The third lesson is one that is a cornerstone of everything I do. It's devotion. And devotion is when we're disciplined in a divine direction. It's not enough to be disciplined, Blaine. Consistency is great, but as you always say, it has to be in the divine direction. It has to be for the sake of purpose. Has to be greater than you're going to endure, on a growth pattern or trajectory. And so when we're devotional, we actually are utilizing our discipline with a definiteness of purpose, as Napoleon Hill talks about again and again, especially in Outwitting the Devil. And so understanding the devotion of, I'm not just going to be disciplined. I'm not just going to roll the boulder to the top of the hill every day just to have it roll down to the bottom. I'm not going to live my life like a tube, food in and food out. I'm going to be devotional with inspiration, intuition, intelligence, and the great energy that is infinite as well in this unified, abundant system that I'm in. So staying devotional, and the one discipline that I think gets in the way of so many people that I coach, and maybe you've had the same experience, is so many people are so disciplined at their work, but they forget to make money. And and it breaks my heart, and it's like, what are you doing? All of this activity, no devotion, it's all discipline, and you almost have a comfort because you're going through this disciplined motion every day consistently, God bless you, but with no divine direction. And so you never end up where you want to be, whether it's your health, your family, your finance, whatever it be, you don't get there. So I think pressure exposes the work that we need to do. It exposes the habits and devotion that we have. We don't trust the preparation. Pressure creates doubt. It actually works in the inverse, and it will create inconsistency. You're the master of devotion in understanding and aligning with our divine direction. Where do people fall most with their understanding of the difference between discipline and devotion to have the consistency to handle the pressure?
I think where that comes into play, David, and you mentioned Outwitting the Devil, Napoleon Hill's book. They start to drift. They're going through the motions. They're practiced. They're they're dedicated, but they have lost connection to that. And you've used this phrase a number of times. For the sake of what? What matters? What matters? I may be doing it because I have a vision of something, but I've lost connection to the emotional dynamic. Why does that matter to me? Why does that matter to my family? Why does it matter that I'm doing this? If I can't answer that question in a generative way, all I'm doing is going through the motions. And I'm just making noise and creating a lot of movement, but it's not. It's kind of like the hamster on the wheel sort of a deal.
Yeah.
The hamster is dedicated. Boy, is that hamster dedicated for the sake of what?
And when we're just going through the motions and we're disciplined about an activity, we don't prepare the same way as when we're devotional, because it takes devotion, not discipline, to prepare. And we say all the time that we don't rise to the occasion. We fall to the level of our preparation. I repeat that. We don't rise to the occasion. We fall to the level of preparation. And I love Tiger Woods when he says, I don't practice to be perfect. I don't practice till I don't get it wrong. I practice until shoot, now I'm losing my train. But it was in this realm, right? I don't practice till I make it perfect. I practice till I don't get it wrong. I don't practice till I get it right. I practice till I don't get it wrong.
Yeah.
And there's a difference in that between discipline to practice something until you get it right, devotion allows you to practice until you don't get it wrong. So sorry about the mind fart, but I'm human there. So we'll move on to lesson number 4. If you like a a discipline exercise, how to prepare and trust that preparation for the sake of your divine direction, understanding we don't rise to the occasion but fall to that preparation. Email me, david@dmeltzer.com, david@dmeltzer.com. The fourth lesson, emotional control. We respond, not react. Pressure amplifies, like so many other things that we do. Money will amplify our emotion. Alcohol and drugs will amplify your emotions, but we need to have under pressure emotional control, because pressure will amplify emotions. And if we react emotionally and that energy emotion is in the wrong trajectory, if it interferes with our divine direction, we will lose all that we prepared for: the clarity, the balance, the harmony, the focus, and unfortunately create bad habits, make poor decisions. And so when feeling the need to be right, offended, separate, inferior, superior, anxious, frustrated, angry, full frustration, fear, and urgency, making rushed, not aligned divine decisions will not serve in the long term. Part of pressure is understanding emotional control the situation, but emotional control. This is true in so many aspects of life. Is there a technique to control our emotions when under high pressure?
Absolutely. There's a number of techniques, but the one that I have found to be, very useful, it kind of comes under the notion, it comes with the understanding that I can't control the pressure, that outside circumstance, but I can control how I'm responding to it. So I remember I was at I had a meeting. It's literally a multi-million-dollar sales meeting. This was the final meeting, and it was a yes or no sort of a thing. And I remember standing in the foyer of big office building down in downtown Manhattan, and just feeling the pressure build. And what I did was I walked over to the window and I just looked out at the cityscape and just started breathing. Just became very aware of my breathing, just kind of slowing down, and felt myself in my body. Just felt myself in my body. Just kind of feet on the floor, just and felt it settle. And then when the EA came out and said he's ready for you, I just turned around and walked into the meeting and was calm. I was in a responsive place, not a reactive place. My eyes weren't dilated. My breathing wasn't up high. All of that stuff had kind of leveled down. So pausing, long enough to get my center, regain my center. Pressure will knock us off center, and we're not resourceful when we're off center. So I want to find a way to come back to my center. And from that place, now I can take some choices about what do I do next in the moment. So it's that pause that gives me a chance to recenter, recalibrate.
I love that. And I think, for me, it's understanding a simple lesson my mom taught me, that when you're on fire, emotionally, physically, spiritually, but especially emotionally on fire, you have to train ourselves to respond with the same definiteness of purpose, with the same intention. And the great intentions is called stopping. And when we stop, it allows us to drop, to center, to recollect, remind, and remember our source, our infinite, abundant source, and then roll into our divine direction. So if anybody would like stop, drop, and roll exercise to control your emotions, just email david@dmeltzer.com, david@dmeltzer.com. The lesson 5 is one of my favorite quotes, which is progress over perfection. And utilizing the previous lessons as pressure is fuel, and often makes us chase perfection, which delays action and limits growth, holding back from acting because we want everything to be perfect. I tell Bob a story how he wrote 6 books at the time that he should have, and put them all into one book, because he just had to have the prep. When book 1 that he finished would have been terrific, and what he rewrote would have been book 2, and what he rewrote from there would have been book 3. And I people do that all the time in all types of areas. because pressure should accelerate, aggregate, and compound us, not delay us. How do we know when it's enough? It's enough progress, and because I think that's a big problem.
I used to teach a section in a leadership program, and actually, I still bring pieces of this into our mastermind.
Which everybody should join. That mastermind's incredible. BlaineBartlett.com. He'll make your possibilities a reality. But go ahead.
Thank you. And it's the distinction between excellence over perfection. And the idea of excellence, it's just kind of, and it goes to the point of what's good enough in this moment. So, yeah, there will be a point where, and writing a book is a great example of this, or writing anything. I'll look at it and I go, well, I know there's a typo in here someplace. I can't find it. And if I'm looking for perfection,
this is pre AI, by the way.
Yeah, pre AI, absolutely. So I'll just kind of, oh my God, I know it's in here. It's got to be grammatically perfect. Excellence is, hey, it's going to be fine. The idea is on the paper. The grammar doesn't have to be perfect in order to convey the idea. And that's the distinction. It doesn't have to be perfect to convey the message.
Yeah.
Because whatever it is that I'm doing is just a vehicle for an outcome.
So good. And, in the realm, it reminds me of what I tell my kids when they're pursuing something or trying to progress in something. Just do your best, learn lessons, and have fun. And in the moment, according to the circumstances of the day. I think, a bunch of people have a problem because they can never get everything done. And you hear that from so many of your highly actualized individuals. Well, that's why non-negotiables are so important for me. 12 hours of my day, that's where I put my OCD, right? I need to get those 12 hours of things done. And most of it's sleep, by the way, but I'm OCD about it. And then it's giving me freedom to say, okay, I got billions of opportunities, options, and touches of favor. Now my job is to prioritize which ones are aligned with the circumstances of that day and do my best, learn lessons, and fun them. And that's progress over perfection. Last lesson, if anybody would like the progress over perfection exercise, the full training or the replay, david@dmeltzer.com. And we're getting to the last lesson here before we get to the Q&A with amazing Blaine Bartlett joining us here on the Napoleon Hill Institute training. The AAA strategy rears its head again, right? Alignment, action, and adjustment. Channeling pressure into purpose. When we are aligned, when we take action and prepare for adjustment, that preparation is not just for the action. You and I both know what preparation really allows for is adjustment. And so we're aligned with our purpose. Pressure becomes energy, which we channel instead of something that interferes, resists, or overwhelms us. So energized, focused in a meaningful, purposeful moment that connects us to something bigger than us that loves us more than our mind and then our mom. So alignment, action, and adjustment, the preparation that is necessary for all three. Alignment transforms pressure into that momentum. There's so many areas we use this AAA strategy. So how do we prepare for or align? Because that's 80% of the gig is preparation and alignment, not the action or adjustment. We sharpen the knife 1,000 times to cut once, or you measure twice and cut. There's so many different examples of it. Reconnecting on why our work matters. Alignment is so critical. For you, do you have a technique for this? Preparation, schedule, or mechanism or modality? Because this to me is the most important part of almost all of our action adjustment for anything we're doing.
Yeah. The first step I always will pay attention to is, am I connected? And it's a legitimate question that I ask myself. Am I connected to what matters? For the sake of what? I've got to get that answer to a yes before I do anything. So that is literally the first thing I do. And then honestly, I tend to over prepare. I know, if I'm doing a 1 hour talk, I've probably got 6 hours worth of content. And I just get, so I know it, I'm familiar with it. And then when I'm, ready to deliver, I can just, I can pull it out, and I don't have to, I know I'm not going to do it all, but I know that in the moment, I will know what piece of this needs to be brought forward. So it just eliminates worry. It's kind of like, what if I get stuck here? What if I don't have an answer? Well, okay, the universe is going to provide the answer. It truly is. I trust that. If I'm connected to the for the sake of what matters to me, what I believe matters to them, then I'm going to be able, once I've prepared, to deliver whatever needs to be put into place at that moment in time. And it will be what it will be. Yeah. I can do an after action review when I'm done. But in the moment, it's going to be perfect.
In the moment, it is perfect for the moment. There's no doubt. There's no direction needed in the moment. It's in the moment itself. And if you would like the AAA strategy, alignment, action, and adjustment, and how to prepare for that, please, David means beloved, at D, my first initial, Meltzer means servant. Let me be your beloved servant, David at dmeltzer.com for that exercise and the guide and the replay of this training. You see, Blaine, before I let you go to your Q&A, pressure isn't going away. I promise you, because as we grow, the stakes will, in our perception, increase, and our own self-expectation rises, and new levels bring new challenges, and new levels bring depths. We don't learn how to use pressure. If we don't use it correctly, we'll always feel controlled by it. When we build the ability to navigate it, pressure becomes one of the greatest advantages. It's a capability that allows us to accelerate, aggregate, and compound our results, our outcomes aligned in the divine direction of where we are better. Not what's missing, not what we don't have, not what other people want for us, not what internet or the TikTok wants for us either. The highest performers, the billionaires, entrepreneurs, the celebrities, athletes, and entertainers in all of these fields aren't the ones who avoid pressure. They're the ones who have trained themselves to operate and utilize within it. They stay present, trust the preparation, and execute with clarity, balance, harmony, and focus, a definiteness of purpose when it matters most, because that purpose is greater than the challenges that will present themselves, as progress, not perfection, allows us to accelerate, aggregate, and compound in the direct. We don't break under pressure. We reveal who we've trained ourselves to be. I'm going to repeat that before I let Blaine come on and take some Q&A. We don't break under pressure. We reveal who we've trained, who we practice ourselves to be. When we are aligned and devotional, and focused and balanced and harmonized, there comes fuel for progress. If anybody would like this training, the guides, exercises, or my book, my email is David at dmeltzer.com. If you want to join us in the next 8 cities in the next 10 days, come and see Blaine and I, especially at Las Vegas at the Wynn in the lobby for season 10 of Office Hours. He's an OG of Office Hours. He's solo business. He's my mentor, my coach, my teacher, giving me the steps, teaching me the steps, and bringing the best out of me. BlaineBartlett.com. Please join us if you want to be informed and invited to everything I have going on, especially with Blaine. It's area code 949. Next 3 numbers, 298. Listen to the jingle afterwards. Last 4 number, 2905. 949-29205. And it is a blessing. Pressure into progress. What a great training. What a great partner. Blaine Bartlett, thank you so much for joining me. But most of all, thank you from the Napoleon Hill Institute for being a great chancellor and leader in taking the question and answer session every single Wednesday, participating with me. Appreciate you so much. Thank you, everyone. Remember, before I hand it off, be more interested than interesting. Be kind to your future self and do good deeds. Mikey, why don't you take
I can, yes. There we go. I'll turn the mic on and
now as we open it up to Q&A, I want to encourage everybody that is online, and of course, as we are live on all platforms, to make sure to put your questions into the chat for the double B. That is Blaine Bartlett, as he's going to be carrying on for the next 20 minutes or so with our Q&A session. And of course, for all of our friends here in the Breakfast with Champions, the greatest room and community on Clubhouse, please make sure if you are in the audience and have a question for Blaine today, just use the hand icon to request to join the stage. And of course, if you're already on stage and have a question for the double B, that's Blaine Bartlett, all you got to do is put a quick note in the room chat, and I will be happy to pass the mic over your way. But without further ado, Mr. Blaine, we do have our first question of the day, which is going to come from our friend Mike. So Mike, it is great to see you here, my friend. Happy Wednesday. Why don't you unmute yourself and kick us off?
Amazing. Good morning. How are you feeling?
good to hear you. Have you here, Mike? How you doing today?
Doing fantastic.
Great.
So Blaine, my question to you is, what does it tell us, or even when you see it in others as well, when they need pressure to be able to perform, when they kind of crave that chaos, if you will? Is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing? How can they leverage it? Just trying to figure out how to lean into those moments or dial it back when needed as well. Because I don't feel like it's either way, or leaning too heavy into it could be a detriment as well, obviously.
Yeah, you're on the right track with that, Mike. People will get, I think, wrapped around the axle, so to speak, when they begin thinking in terms of right, wrong, good, and bad. Both of those phraseologies, right, wrong, good, bad, they are steeped in values and in judgment, and they can actually stop progress in a very interesting way. What I have found that works much more effectively is to actually ask myself the question, is this working or not working at this point in time? Is this working or not working? So for somebody that's an adrenaline junkie, as an example here, is this working for my life? I mean, I know I get the hit in the moment, that dopamine rush, that serotonin rush, whatever it might be. But is it working for me long term? Is it working in my life? Not is it good or bad, because if I just kind of pay attention to in the moment I feel wonderful. The dopamine hit just happened, and 4 hours later, I mean, I'm collecting the the consequences of those actions and picking up after myself and cleaning up after myself and everything else. So the question of, is this working or not working? And I frame it within the context of, for the sake of what am I doing this? What matters to me? What matters to us? What matters to where I say I want to go? Those sorts of things start to come into play. I want to manage my inner conversation. And that's really the key to this. I want to manage my inner conversation. What am I telling myself?
Manage an internal conversation. I appreciate it, Blaine. Thank you so much.
You bet, Mike.
Thank you, Mike, for kicking us off. I'm going to pass it over to Allie for the next question of the day. Allie, it's great to see you, my dear. Happy Wednesday. What do you got for us?
Happy Wednesday. Good morning. Incredible training as always, Blaine.
Thank you, Allie. It's good to have you here again.
Thank you. My question this morning is, where's the line for you between mastering your emotional response under pressure and recognizing when the pressure itself is trying to tell you something needs to change? And how do you decipher that?
Yeah, great question. Great question. Pressure, another way of thinking of pressure is stress. And stress, the old metaphor, I mean, the lump of coal can become a diamond with enough pressure and enough heat. And that's essentially what I want to pay attention to. Is the pressure I'm experiencing ultimately going to be transformative? Is it going to have me be a better version of who I am today? And where this, again, I keep coming back to this, for the sake of what? What kind of a person do I need to be in order to have that worthy ideal actually manifested in my life? The pressure oftentimes comes into play when there's a noticing between what I desire and where I'm at today. And I kind of look around, I go, I'm not here yet. And I start to feel the pressure. So I don't want to be run by it, but I want to pay attention to it because it is a signal. It's a signal that something now needs to shift, something now needs to move. And maybe it's something that I need to learn how to do more effectively, and something I need to stop doing that I've been doing habitually that's no longer serving me, or something that I need to actually lever up that I haven't been actually working with as well as I could be. So I want to be a critical thinker in the process, not run by my emotions, but I want to pay attention to the emotional content of my life, if that makes sense.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Blaine. Always appreciate you.
Thank you, Ali. I appreciate you as well. Thank you.
You are the best, Ali, and keeping this thing rocking and rolling as we are chugging along here with the Q&A session. Just a quick reset for all of our friends online. Make sure to put your questions for the double B, that is Blaine Bartlett, into the chat. And for all of our friends here on Clubhouse, make sure to request to join the stage if you have a question for Blaine today, or if you're already on stage, put a quick note in the room chat, and I'll be happy to kick the mic over your way. For our next question, I am going to pass it over to Marco Antonio, who's been patiently waiting. So, Marco, my friend, happy Wednesday. Good to see you. What do you got for Blaine this morning?
Happy Wednesday, Nick. Hey, Blaine.
Hey, Marco.
Thank you, brother. Real quick, I just want to say, thank you for that question, Mike, because I always felt that I did better under pressure. But then as I got older, I realized that it might have just been procrastination.
Yeah, bingo.
So, but I did have a question. Outwitting the Devil by Napoleon Hill.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I'm very mindful of is just like what I consume when I read. And I'm not gonna lie, Blaine, when I started reading that book, I started feeling this odd energy that I don't often feel. And when Napoleon Hill was having his discussions with the devil. So much so that like that week, really odd negative things happened to me that I just couldn't really explain. I was wondering from you, do you believe that, when you read certain words or a good book or a bad book, could it affect your energy?
Mm-hmm.
And also, what were your biggest takeaways from Outwitting the Devil? Because I literally stopped reading it when some of those things started happening.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you for paying attention. Yeah, that's an interesting noticing on your part. The idea of drift comes into play around this, and the subconscious mind is not an arbiter of what's true. The subconscious mind, just by the way that the subconscious works, it will accept anything as it's introduced into the subconscious. So I want to be, to your point, I want to be careful about what I'm actually letting come into my subconscious. Now, one entrance isn't going to affect much, but it's a repetition that begins to build essentially the paradigm that we operate on in our lives, the belief systems and whatnot that we end up constructing. So I want to pay attention to what I'm letting into my subconscious, not just into my conscious mind, because the conscious mind can be pretty discriminating. It can go yes, no, pretty easily. But when it starts to drop into the subconscious and it becomes repetitive in that aggregation of content, now all of a sudden I've got something that is constructed that is going to run me, literally run me. 92% of our behavior, studies show this over and over and over again. 92% of the behaviors that we engage in as adults is driven out of our subconscious mind. And most of us are not particularly aware of what that is at all. So I want to be, there's I'll imagine a metaphoric line between my conscious and my subconscious mind. And I want to have that line be a filter. What is it that I'm letting in? What is it that I'm letting in? And I can control what that is. So to your point, noticing that when you were reading some of this stuff, it may have actually been activating some dynamics that were already present. And as a consequence of that, you were experiencing some of the things that you were experiencing. So, the book Outwitting the Devil, it actually ends up on a very positive note. But you've got to go through the kind of the terrain in order to get there. You want to be careful about what you're letting in. So, in the evening, I mean, I very rarely will listen to national news or anything like this. I'm very discriminating about the kind of news, quote unquote, that I let into my mind. I'll typically, watch, if I'm watching television, I'll watch BBC or something like that that is not invested in a dynamic here in this country. It's just more of an egalitarian look at what's going on in the world, without somebody assigning meaning that I'm supposed to ingest. I don't want, I pay attention to that. That makes sense, Marco?
And I think maybe part of the problem was I didn't put my armor on that morning.
Uh-huh.
I usually do. Usually start with prayer, meditation.
Bingo.
I remember that morning I went straight into my book readings for that day, and I think my mind was ready and safeguarded. So I appreciate you making that distinction. Thank you.
Yeah. Pick up Neville Goddard's The Power of Awareness. Power of Awareness. It's a little tiny book, but it's an incredibly powerful book. There's a lot of wisdom in that little piece. The Power of Awareness. You can get it on Amazon.
Thank you, Blaine. Appreciate you, my man.
You bet, Marco. Take care.
Blaine, for our next question of the day, I'm going to take one actually from the chat, which is, how do you protect your peace while still letting pressure do its necessary work within you?
How do I protect my peace? Okay, what excuse me. There's a phrase in the psychology that's called equanimity. And equanimity has to do with basically a state of stasis, where there's a calmness. Everything around me is kind of going upside down, but I can, the storm is running around me. I'm in the center of the storm. So that eye of the storm is very calm. So how do I go about doing that? I pay attention to not being distracted by what's going on around me. And I know this is something that I know is easy for me to say, and it's something that I need to develop a way to do that. My breathing comes into play here. I know where my center is. So I will step back for a moment and just take a breath. And nobody has to know that I'm doing this. I do, just take a 5-second pause. Just kind of, okay, let's just center here. Let's just take a moment. And then I'll come back and I'll engage again. But I don't want to engage with the drama. I want to engage with what seems to be going on right now that I can actually, make a difference with. So that idea of that Epictetus talked about in his discourses, or Stoic philosopher, I get to control basically 4 things in life. I get to control my thoughts. I get to control the experience that those thoughts generate. I get to control my attitude, and I get to control my behavior. Those are the 4 things. That's all I get to control. Everything else is out of my control. And where a lot of discomfort comes from and a lot of aggravation comes from is thinking that I can control anything other than those 4 things. I try to control what's going on around me. I can't control what's going on around me. I can influence it. And the way I influence it most effectively is by paying attention to these 4 different areas.
I love it. Thank you so much, Blaine. And for our next question, I'm going to pull one from the chat as well. That's coming from Laura, and she is asking, how does one accept help without feeling guilty or having the need to do something in return?
Well, the first thing I would do, Laura, is kind of trace it back a little bit. Where does the guilt come from? There's probably something in your history that says self-reliance is it's what you need to aspire to. And I'm familiar with this because I mean I grew up on a farm as a kid, and uh, the ethos was just you handle it. You get it done. You handle it. Asking for help was not something that came naturally. It was just it wasn't in the family. It wasn't in the family dynamic. Um, when I start to feel guilty about it, guilt is an interesting emotion. It's the conflict between what I'm doing and what I believe to be true, or what I believe I should be doing. That's that's where guilt comes from. It's a clash between current action and a belief system that's in place. So if I'm experiencing guilt, I want to trace back, okay, what's the source of this? Yeah, and trust me, it's not just asking for help. I want to go back further. Where did that come from? Where did that come from? It was probably valid at that point in time, way back when, but it's been carried forward. And this is an example of that unconscious, that subconscious mindset that comes into play that controls our actions as an adult. Emotional intelligence, in large part, has to do with the foundational piece of emotional intelligence is self-awareness. Come back to where's the source of what it is that is driving this behavior. What's the source? I start noticing. Yeah. And that's what we want to be able to do. And the other piece of your question here has to do with feeling as if I've got to do something in return. This is a very common trait. Robert Cialdini will talk about this in a book on influencing. One way that we influence others, and it has to do with the law of reciprocity. If I do something for somebody, it creates an emotional debt almost automatically on the part of the person that is receiving. They want to compensate by giving something back in return. So that feeling is going to be just kind of a natural state. You want to check, is it something that I need to pay attention to? You're not probably ever going to get rid of that. That reciprocity piece actually is hardwired into the biology, and it helped. If you go way back, it's one way that we actually kept ourselves safe, and um, I'd hate to use the word comfortable here, but way, 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 way back when we started trading and doing all kinds of other stuff as a human, proto-human, reciprocity was one of the ways that we actually kept family units together, and those tribes together, that sort of thing. So just notice, you don't want it to be in control. You just want to notice, oh, that's interesting. I feel the need to give something back here. Is that useful at this point in time? Is that useful in this point in time? So you can kind of mitigate it once you become aware of it. So Laura, I hope that helps.
Awesome. Thank you, Blaine. Appreciate it. Taking over for Nick here as he's on the move per usual, trying to get to those next 200 days of travel with Dave here. Going to our next question here. We got a few coming up in the chats live as well. I'm going to go to Gigi. Then we'll probably have one more after Gigi to close us out here as we're kind of filled that 30 minutes in super quick here. So I appreciate it. Let's go to Gigi for next question, please. Then we'll take the next one.
Happy Wednesday, and Ben, thank you for doing this. So my question is, how important is your purpose when it comes to progress and pressure? And for the sake of what?
For me, it is the grounding principle. It is Elon Musk will talk about first principles. It's just kind of going back to where everything starts. Whether I'm aware of my purpose or not, I can't not be doing something in service of it. I'll just kind of make that declaration. Purpose isn't out there somewhere. Purpose lives inside me, and then it gets expressed. It gets exposed over time. And sometimes I'm lucky enough to actually be able to identify, oh, that's what that is, and I can label it, and I can give it a name, and then I can leverage it more effectively. But I'm always going to be, in some way, shape, or form, expressing my purpose in life. Now, for me, my purpose in life is to teach. I mean, I'm most alive when I'm teaching. I love teaching. And not, I don't necessarily like standing in front of a classroom and teaching, but just everything that I do has, in some way, shape, or form, a teaching component to it. My great friend Bob Proctor, I mean, that was, yeah, he lived and breathed teaching. Mary Morrissey, another very, very dear friend of mine, lives and breathes teaching. We socialize a lot and we're together a lot. And in our conversations, there's always a teaching component that comes into play. So I can't not be on purpose. What I can be is not aware of what it is. So part of what I want to be able to do here, Gigi, is begin to pay attention to what's the commonality in where in where I feel most alive. Where's the commonality? What's the commonality in where I feel most vital, where I feel most present? That's ways that my purpose is actually being expressed. So when I can begin to actually grok that, understand that a little bit better, now I can actually begin to leverage it more directly and more effectively in my life.
Yeah, thank you. And I'm gonna look for that common thread.
Okay. I'll help you with that.
Perfect. Thank you, Blaine. And
You
then
bet,
we'll
Mike.
close out. We'll close out here for another question from the chat. This one's from Michael. How do you know when to trust your intuition versus outside input when making a decision?
Michael, honestly, the answer to that is through practice. We get a gut instinct. I mean, intuition, gut instinct, a feeling, that sort of thing. Practice paying attention to it. You don't have to actually leverage it all the time. You don't have to actually act on it all the time. But the times that you do act on it, just step back after the act and go, okay, how valid was that feeling in terms of what I just produced? We are exquisitely fine-tuned as communicating receivers. We've got ears, obviously. We've got all of this sensory apparatus, but what we don't generally access most effectively are other things other than our hearing and our sight. We want to be able to leverage these other inputs that are coming in, and they give us a ton of information. And I can begin to practice accessing these other senses, and they will give me information that can guide me if I'm paying attention to it. My intellectual mind, the purpose of the mind is survival. And survival is organized around ego. And oftentimes that ego is designed to be serving an idea of who I'm supposed to be and what I'm supposed to be doing, none of which are necessarily consistent with who I actually am. So intuition can be who I am saying, hey, what about me? What about me? Okay. And it's a way that I can begin to express myself more fully when I start paying attention to it. So there's no guarantees that that action step is going to be producing what you want if you pay attention and take action on that intuitive feeling. But I want to be able to validate it. I want to, over time, I can collect information that says, more often than not, it's a pretty good barometer of what I need to be doing next. So essentially, you just start paying attention. Just start paying attention. At least that's how I've done it.
I love it. We've done it the right way. So amazing. Thank you, Blaine. Perfect timing as always here as we close everything out. As we close out our training, please share how people can find you, the resources you have available, and if people want to know more, how they can connect with you specifically.
Yeah, BlaineBartlett.com is my personal website. My company website is avatar-resources.com, and you can directly email me to bbartlett@avatar-resources.com. Those are probably the easiest ways. I've got a pretty strong LinkedIn presence. The BlaineBartlett.com site, we've got all kinds of resources up there. We've just launched a new leadership community that you can participate in. So we've got a lot of resources in there as well. BlaineBartlett.com is going to give you all the information about what to do and where to go and how to access me. That's probably the easiest way to do it.
Amazing. Thank you as always, Blaine. We appreciate you so much, and thank you for being part of our community and leading the way here with us every Wednesday. Appreciate you. Really, really do. Thank you, Gigi, as well. Please close us out here, and we'll see you next week. Thank you so much, Blaine.
You bet, Mike. You take care.
You too.
Wanna know where David's gonna be? Get invites, updates, and community. When he's in your city, you won't miss a thing. Just text the number, let your phone ring, 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 ring. 949-292-905. That's 949-292-905. Events, connection, and opportunity, all in one place. Come join the community. So text it now, don't wait in line. 949-292-905. That's 949-292-905.
They discovered it, they read it, and they applied it. It's the golden thread that connects the titans of the self-development industry, the source that spawned millions of millionaires, the original blueprint to success.
Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill.
Think and Grow Rich. Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich. It's a classic. A classic.
And I love Think and Grow Rich. I love it. It's right here. I mean, it's one of my favorite books of all time.
Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill.
This material is what changed my life. This is the material I study every day. From being an immigrant woman, coming from poverty, and really coming to America and literally achieving the American dream. I can't even tell you how grateful I am for this man, for what he did for me and my family.
Whatever the mind can conceive and believe, the mind can achieve.
People don't realize is that when we let our ego get in our way, ego is the loss, the fear of loss. So need to be right, the need to be offended, the need to be hurt, fearful. When that trajectory changes, what happens is you continually go the wrong way. So my job as a coach is to say, let's get into the enjoyment of the direct pursuit of my potential. Right? And so when the light went on, it was not about the potential of making money and being an entrepreneur, which is one of my specialties. And I said to him, look, this is an opportunity now to show how great you really are. We can't let the outside voices, right, determine our success. The happiness that we have comes within. Why are you going to give that control to somebody else?
Thoughts become things. And I always wonder, why did no one teach us this? Why did we not learn this in school? Why did we not learn this from our families? If you make your study a priority, your life will change.
And I came up with 4 really valuable things that I took stock in. And the first one was gratitude. Simple gratitude. Although I grew up with nothing, I was always grateful. Throughout the whole process of consistently, persistently pursuing my potential, I was grateful. It made my past better, my present brighter, and my future even brighter than that. In fact, I tell people all the time, if you want to change your life, change your employee's life, your family life, it's very simple. 2 words, say thank you.